Hey, listeners, and welcome to Southern Summers and Northern Winters. How are you, Mark? This week, this is a Friday. We're recording on a Friday. This is a Friday afternoon. Doing anything special for the weekend?
No, it's my weekend at work this week, so I won't be doing too much. I work one weekend on, one weekend off. So this is my it's the money weekend, as I call it. Get
and
time and
just
a half tomorrow and double time on Sunday. So it's it's the money weekend.
Yeah, it's the money. We have to attend to those. Let's say practical matters from time to time, don't we? We need to.
We do.
In the real world.
And Monday's a public holiday here for the King's birthday, but worse luck, I only have a short 3-hour shift on Monday, where if I had an 8 or 9 hour shift, I would have been like, cha-ching. But,
yeah.
Because it's 2.5 times on a public holiday, your normal rate. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we do have
nice.
A public holiday. Actually, this is the last school day for 2 weeks here in Bavaria. It's called, I think it's the Pentecost. It's a Christian holiday for us here. And next week again, there's going to be another German holiday, and so 2 weeks off from school, and we're going to Tuscany for 10 days.
Beautiful.
Driving around a little bit, yeah. So yeah, this is our late spring. We're going into summer now. And also, Mark, this weekend we have a beer fest in the area. So it's wonderful.
Happy days.
Yeah,
happy days.
It's all good. It's all good. Apart from the weather, it's just not really behaving. We've had thunderstorms and hail up to 6 centimeters.
Wow.
In parts of Bavaria. Yeah. Fortunately,
wouldn't want to have your car out in that.
No, that's a real issue. Actually, that's a thing here for the insurance companies, car insurance companies.
The thing here as well.
Yeah,
when it happens.
Yeah, until I saw them, I honestly didn't believe people telling me the hail the size of doves' eggs or whatever. But I mean, really, they are massive.
Yeah, well, I actually had a car written off because of hail. Like the insurance company were just going to pay me out for it and take it away because of the hail damage at one stage, and I just opted not to because it was just an old car, and I knew I wasn't really car proud with it. It was my little runaround car.
Okay.
So I said, no, I'll just keep it. But I couldn't really. It was pretty hard to get any insurance on it after that, and the damage was really only on the roof, not really anywhere else. So I opted to keep it because they were only going to give me like market value, which was like, I don't know, $1,500 or $2,000 Australian for it or something. So it wasn't much, and I would have had to have spent more money to go and buy a new one on top of, or not a new, but a newer second-hand one on top of it. So I was like, nah, blow it, I'll just keep it.
And the thing is, probably even if you had you gotten the money from the insurance company, they would have risen their fees, wouldn't
their
they?
Premium. Yeah, definitely. I think the moment you ring them, they rise your premium, whether they whether they pay out or not, it goes up. But hey, that's life, isn't
it? Yeah, exactly. No, and also, I mean, I'm glad we've rented a car as of Monday. And even a rental car, we pay the full premium for any damage. But still, there's a lot of hassle when if you bring back a damaged car. I mean, it's
definitely. So, what sort of car is it?
It's a Volkswagen Polo class because we're going to Italy. I don't want a big car there, honestly. Going to the smaller villages,
small medieval streets, a bit hard to get around.
It's not really well seen either to come with a huge ship of a car and just so. But what happens is that because I'm a long time gold member at Sixt, I usually get an upgrade actually. Yeah, but I will have to make sure it's not too big an upgrade because those ones they wanted to upgrade me to a very very nice Mercedes convertible, but it was only a two-seater, and yeah,
And sometimes an upgrade. Sometimes an upgrade actually costs you more because I've been upgraded from like I think I booked a Hyundai i30, so just a small four-door hatch, like, and I arrived and got upgraded to like a full drive of some description. So the petrol cost was, actually twice as much as what it as what it would have been. So, I don't really know if that's sometimes an upgrade is not an upgrade. I don't know whether I've told you this story before. We went to Melbourne, me and Beck, to stay in this apartment just for a night or a couple of nights. And they're like, there was only two of us, so we booked a one-bedroom apartment. And we get there and they're like, oh, we've given you an upgrade to a two-bedroom apartment. And I'm like, well, is it really an upgrade when there's only two of us and we were only going to be staying in one bedroom anyway? So the second bedroom is not really an upgrade because what are you going to use the second bedroom for?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
So
yeah. That's actually it's a valid point. I mean, you sometimes you just don't need, and they will sell it to you as an upgrade, but maybe it's simply just because, well, they have that spare room anyway.
Yeah, that's it. It's like we would call it a Clayton's upgrade in Australia. People used to say it's a Clayton's because Clayton's used to be some famous non-alcoholic drink, so they were giving you something, but you weren't getting anything. You know what I mean? So people often say it's a Clayton's upgrade.
It's a good saying.
Just getting something that's got nothing in it, really. And it was. So it was quite strange. But hey, the only time I've ever been upgraded too. They could have gave me an upgrade to a room with a spa or a view or a top floor. Something like that.
Absolutely.
A spare room I wasn't going to use.
Yeah, exactly. So we've been chatting this morning, and I wanted to talk about something that's really an issue. And I talked to another friend just this week who also came home from traveling, and he had the blues, the homecoming blues. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I do. They really do exist, and I probably suffer from them quite a lot actually when I come back.
Me too. Traveling. Yeah.
I think I often find though now that the best way to get over it is to go back to work as soon as you can. I think like that's one of my strategies. So I think most days now I come home one day and I go back to work the next day because the longer you've got to sit around and think what a great and amazing time you had, the more you're likely to feel sad about it.
Feel sorry for yourself.
A little bit not fair, I guess. Being back at work, but it definitely exists. Or another way to get over it is to start booking another holiday.
Yeah.
I've even gone as far as booked another holiday while I've been on a holiday.
I've already, because as I said, we've just rented a car for the next week, but already I've booked the car for our summer holidays as well. So we've got something to look forward to. I mean, after having traveled long term as well, that was really it was really hard for me to. I sort of knew it would come. I expected it to come. But getting back after a whole year of traveling around the world and landing, it was here in Munich. And we just landed, and I mean, we had to decorate our whole house and everything. So we had things to do, but still getting back into the everyday life, the monotony of, just doing normal, boring things instead of exploring the world. That was really something, because you see the world. What traveling makes you see the world with a different perspective. That's the whole purpose. I think that's one of the.
It does, and it's really easy too on holidays to get used to not having to cook, not having to do any dishes, not having to do washing, not having to do any menial household chores that are okay. But the last thing sometimes you want to do is get home from work and then have to, clean the house or cook or, do washing and things like that. And you just go, but I guess when we came home from long-term travel, there was really no option because COVID had just hit, so we came
Oh
actually
yeah,
home
yeah,
because of COVID. So we would have had to have come home anyway, basically, or been stuck in Indonesia, in Bali, which probably might not have been a bad thing, but but we came home like 2 weeks before Australia shut its borders, so
yeah.
there was really no option for us, or I couldn't really feel bad about it because there wasn't anywhere I could have been anyway,
No.
except here or stuck in some foreign country, having to pay Qantas $1 billion to catch an emergency flight home at some stage.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that was extraordinary circumstances, really. I mean,
most definitely.
yeah, yeah. Wow.
But yeah, it's easy to get the blues and fall into, I think, traps just generally in life sometimes. Like, I reckon
Yeah.
probably earlier this year, I reckon I was probably a little bit depressed maybe about travel because like we'd built a fairly successful online business where we were making enough money to potentially travel full time going
Yeah.
forward, and
Yeah.
that's all disappeared with AI and Google. So, I've had to sort of reset my mindset to the fact
Yeah.
that that's probably not going to happen anymore, like on a long term basis, and my life here working and just going on holidays a few times a year, which is much better than some people have, So
Yeah.
I'm trying not to sound
Privileged.
ungrateful, but, privileged for the life that I have. But
Yeah.
for so long we worked towards a goal that was what we were going to do. We were just going to leave with no comeback date. We were going to travel for an unextended amount of time for whatever we liked because we were making 5 or 6 or 7,000 euros a month online, and that was going to be enough quite easily to sustain a moderate travelling lifestyle in Asia and places like that, and fund any bills we had to continue running our house at home. So I've found it quite hard actually the start of this year dealing with the fact that that's probably not going to happen, and my life is really just going to pretty much stay the way it is now.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing,
unless things change.
yeah, the thing is about that. I this week I follow a Danish podcast about technology and the development of technology, and there was a guy saying, right now AI is really boosting, and everybody talks about AI and the fear of AI replacing everything. The thing is, nobody really wants to read something completely AI generated.
No, they don't.
They don't. And
You're right.
so what I want to encourage you to keep on going what you do, because
I will, but
the interest will come back. Right now, it's
Yeah.
just everything's settling and everything is just nobody really knows where things are going. But
No.
the truth of the matter is, we humans, we want to connect with emotion and other humans and empathy and stuff like that. And AI can't replace that. It's just not.
But we're also, I think, lazy by nature, and we want to open Google and we want to see them AI snippets at the very top of the page that answer everything, so we don't actually have to go any further as well. I think is a balancing act sometimes.
It
because
is.
Even I do that a lot, and I know I shouldn't. I should look further and actually read an article. But them 5 or 6 paragraphs that Google now lump at the top of their search results generally answer a lot of things for most people, which is an issue. But then I also read that AI is starting to cannibalise itself at the moment. It's got nothing to, it's got no new data or anything, and it's just starting to spit out. Possibly starting to spit out some wrong information because it's got nothing new that it can consume at the present.
Exactly.
So,
and I think the big tech companies, they will eventually fail in simply because they will try to optimize their income and monetize everything, and if they can get AI generated stuff instead of paying for content, they will try to do that. But as I said, and as this expert said, we don't want that. I mean, people get fed up with stuff AI generated, even if it's good and it comes across as curated and well researched, but we want to connect with other people. When we read blogs and see podcasts, see stuff like that. Yeah. So I think we shouldn't worry. We shouldn't worry.
I think more and more that's why video, I guess, is probably the way forward because, video AI, well, it can manipulate video. I shouldn't say it can't. Sorry, I had a light switch off up there. I shouldn't say it can't manipulate video, but I guess it puts YouTube in a stronger spot than ever for people making unique content that you have to watch video to find. I guess in the end, which is a good thing. But I also read this week that for the first time, I think in 15 years, Google's percentage of search has dropped below 90%. Like it used to be around 94% of everyone search on Google. So that's slowly moving away. So it's dropped below 90. It's around 88 at the moment, which is the first time in 15 years that their search numbers have been under 90% and falling. I'm just going to turn my other light on because I think it's a bit dark without that one. Hang on one second.
Yeah, well.
Tiny bit more light in the situation.
Yeah. Your newly cleaned up garage.
Yes, that's it.
Or shed, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So if my cable reached a bit further, I could show you around it, but it's plugged in because I'm using my DJI Osmo as my webcam, and it's got to be plugged into the to run the webcam. But so there's definitely things afoot, but that at the same time sort of makes me even more hesitant to change too much stuff, because if I go and change a lot of stuff on our website and the way we do things, and then it all flips back around, so once again you've just sold yourself down the river, you know what I mean? So and that's the frustrating thing about it.
Yeah, I saw a video yesterday about music creation and music production, and there was a guy saying, we are all, independent artists who are not backed by a major label. I mean, we are all struggling, we're all trying, but the one thing he said, the one thing you should never do is stop. Don't ever stop. Keep going, because that's the only way you can ever have any chance of a success in doing anything. Don't ever quit.
And that's it. And it's sort of you just gotta sort of keep angling, I guess, in a different direction. Like even as it is, we still make most of our money off our main website, which is our family travel website. But in reality, I don't drive a lot of traffic to that from social, which is probably where it's at the moment. You need to be driving traffic from social because Google's not sending the people to you. So you need someone said the other day, if you're going to start a website, first figure out how you're going to get the traffic there, because Google's not going to get the traffic there for you anymore. So you need to either develop a large Facebook group or be a master at Pinterest or things like that in order to have them drive the traffic for you, because Google's not going to drive the traffic for you at this stage in life.
And that's the thing that's really frustrating for content creators like you and I. We have to spend more and more time on social media management than the actual content creating. I mean, for me as well, I'm into making music, and that's where my heart is. That's where my interest is, and I'm not really interested in the social media part of it. But it's you can't say no to that, because you won't have any listeners at all if you don't do that. It's just really frustrating there that social media is such a big part of everything that we do.
And it's really hard to set up something that's good social these days, that's unique, that people want to go to, because everything's already been
done,
set up for different, you know what I mean? Like if I said, okay, let's start a Facebook group on Munich, I'm sure if we had a look, there's probably 500 Facebook groups dealing with things going on in Munich. So how do we how do we then position that group to be something different than the
Yeah.
other 500? And that's the hard part. We've got one group about Sanur in Bali, which we started before Sanur became popular, which has only been in the last 12 years. So we've got nearly 15,000 members in that group, which is good. And it basically runs itself. There's enough people asking questions every single day in there for it to be self-sustainable. And whenever I push a link through for an article from the Sanur website that we have, which doesn't gain much traffic from Google, but I can get up to 500, 600 clicks if I publish an article.
Wow, that's great.
An article through the group, which is really good. But then you got to fine line. You don't want to be pushing articles through every day and things like it's a real balance. You sort of just go, okay, if I can chuck a few through every week, and because there's a lot of people in it too that live in Sanur as well, you've got to be really careful that your information is right, because people are really quick to jump on social media and say that you're wrong. No matter what sort of group.
There's a self-serving justice system there.
Yes, definitely there is. So if you say something that you can't back up, and there's people that actually live there or are there, they're pretty quickly going to say, hey, that's not right. And we haven't actually been to Sanur since July last year. So, and a lot will have changed in that 12 months. So I haven't really written anything new. I'm just sort of updating articles with stuff I know. But one good thing is, though, if I ask a question in the group, I can generally get an answer for an update that I need. Like I was updating an article on things to do in Sanur Beach the other day. And when these days, Google wants more and more personal information, more, they want prices, addresses, all this sort of stuff, which is a real pill because prices change all the time. So I asked in the group, what's the current price of a massage on the beach? And plenty of people will answer that. So in reality, I can find the information out through the group to update my posts. But yeah, so it's a bit of a line ball though sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, but yeah, and if you speaking of cutting through the masses with, for instance, with music, about 100,000 new songs every day are uploaded to Spotify. How do you compete with that? I mean, there's only
something like that. It's some sort of similar number with YouTube too, isn't it? Like there's so many new accounts that are opened every day, and I guess you shouldn't be surprised when you don't get any. Oh. Sorry, something fell down in my shed.
Okay.
I had a mini heart attack for a sec. I was like, did someone come through my door? Like, what's going on?
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, so you shouldn't really be surprised, but it's hard. It's hard, and you would know not to be disheartened when you've put your heart and your soul and some really big effort into producing or something that you think is really good, and then no one listens to it or no one watches it, and you go, well, I've just spent 2 days editing, probably 10 hours, 12, 13 hours editing a video, I spent a couple of days filming it, and then I look at it a week later and I've had like 35 people look at it, and you go, really? Like,
yeah, that's discouraging. Yeah. And someone said, I don't necessarily agree, but someone mentioned as well recently that, you should, the first thought on your mind should be, why should people care? Why should people even care about what you do? And that's a really hard question to answer. But it's there may be some truth to it, although I don't completely agree, because we all have something at heart, and we all have something we all want to share. That's part of being the content creator. That's because we have a gene where we want to share stories and music and emotions, but why people should care, I don't know. But it's just,
The issue is there's no golden template either, because all this is based on these big companies changing algorithms to suit what does. So you can never actually get ahead of the you can never get ahead of the game. Basically, like you'll think you've got it worked out. Much like we thought we had it worked out with our other website that was bringing in all the money, and that worked all real well for 2 or 3 years. And then AI came, and everything had to then be changed. And so how long that'll stay for, then there'll be another change to readjust. So you can never actually, you can never actually get ahead of it. You know, you're sort of just working on the peripheral of it all the time. Unlike if you go, you know, to university or somewhere and you study to be a teacher or something, you go, okay, if I do all this, I'll get this job, but this is the money I will make, and I can rely on that. You know what I mean? But you can't go and do a course on Google's algorithm because Google doesn't tell you what their algorithm is or, you know, how they're tweaking it or what you can do because they don't want you gaming the system to be on top when you're not meant to be on top, you know? So
it's remarkable how reliant we have become on a tech company, not willing to really open up, you know, for anything. They're very secretive, and also we are. I mean, really, so much business in the world is relying on Google, and it's just actually
should be broken up.
You could write a dystopian novel about this, really.
Yeah, it's like it's probably the biggest monopoly of all time. Literally,
it is.
Like, you know,
it is.
It controls so much of our life. It goes unchecked. You know what it does and how it does and how it. You know how, like I say, like, you know, it takes my content, doesn't pay me for my content. It turns my content into AI and then gives it to other people for free. Like, you know, in what business sense does that work? But because there's no other option besides Google's 90% of the search engine market, you really have no option except to allow that to happen for the chance that Google's going to show you stuff. So, you know, like it's really wrong in a lot of ways. You know, for all the money I've made, I'm sure for all the time I've spent creating content, I'm probably still only working on about 10 cents an hour in the entirety of my you know, content creation lifetime. Like, you know, the hours I put in compared to you know, the payback on it is pretty low these days, but it's always been low really in comparison. But hey,
and add to that scenario, we have Microsoft. I mean, how many businesses, public offices are heavily relying on Microsoft? Anything running on Microsoft is probably 95 of all computers in bigger enterprises.
Like, you know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's very crazy. Did you?
It is.
Just speaking of big business, did you see the big bomb that went off in America today? Elon dropped the bomb on Donald a few times today.
Yeah, he did. I can't say I'm surprised.
No, it was always going to go flip at some stage, wasn't it? Like,
it's two alpha males, very vain, both of them, very big egos, with daddy issues. Come on, it's it was
quite
bound
funny to watch and listen to, isn't it? Like,
yeah. I am very much into space and stuff like that. So my other podcast is about that, and it's so we're following this with very intense interest because, you know, a lot of stuff is going on in the space community, and Elon, I've been sort of twisted between, you know, disgust and then fascination, because he does bring something to the space community, to the tech industry that otherwise would not have been there. He is driving an evolution. So you can't take that away from him. But I am absolutely appalled by his political views and anything he does. But so I hope he's back to you know, becoming sort of normal as he can be. And I hope that Donald does not withdraw all NASA contracts from SpaceX, because there really is no alternative. And I don't think,
it's the backward step, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think it won't happen, because if Donald Trump withdraws NASA from all things SpaceX, there is no other alternative to bring things into space than either the Chinese or the Russians. so he doesn't want that. So
No, he does not, does he?
no, I think, and the last thing I read this morning is that they're going to have a phone call this Friday afternoon, American time, and
Well, that'd be interesting.
that's probably because someone told Trump, we don't have an alternative. there's
No,
there,
that's it.
there's nothing else to do here. So yeah, no, that's really mind-boggling what's going on there, man. It's yeah. And I read that he's really apparently much more into a drug addict. I mean, Musk, as one would have thought. I mean, he really has a serious issue there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's fascinating that a man like that has had full access to all things, all data within the administration.
Yeah. It's a different world at the top, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is.
Looking down on the little people.
Speaking of drugs, this is probably a sensitive topic for travelers. But I mean, previously, I'm asking because I don't know what the current thing is, but I read, and I was very careful the last time I was in Thailand, that people couldn't put things into my backpack because I had heard horror stories about people smuggling drugs in and out of Thailand in people's backpacks. Have you ever heard about that?
I have, but I don't think it's much of a concern in Thailand anymore.
No.
I was in Thailand in December and January, and there's pretty much a marijuana dispensary every couple of 100 meters.
Yeah, they've
everywhere
sort of
selling. Selling all different types of marijuana from all corners of the world. By the looks of the menu that I had a look at when I went in and had a look at a couple of them. So you can go in and you can buy, much like Amsterdam, I guess, you can buy a pre-rolled joint, or you can buy a baggie of whatever you like, however much you want to. No, didn't see anyone smoking it on the street though, or anything like that. So it's not prevalent for people just to be walking around, smoking joints or anything like that. So must be people smoking it in their hotels or in their houses, which is good, because I guess you don't really want to see all that on the street, I guess. But so.
But are they cracking down on harder drugs? Because cannabis, cannabis and grass and stuff. That's sort of not legalized everywhere, but they're relaxing the rules more and more. I mean, even here in Germany,
I don't really have an opinion on it. I think it's okay as long as it's
it's people's own business, isn't it?
Look, I've smoked grass before. I'm sure most people have smoked grass before. It is what it is. If you do it like everything and in moderation and in a space and time that it's that it's happening, it's happening. But like everything, it's has its time and place. And on the street is probably not it. But if you want to indulge and enjoy it with some friends, or behind a closed door, or while you're camping or anything like that, that's all good. All good for me anyway.
I'm also in no way encouraging people to do it, but I mean there are people saying that it's actually less harmful than alcohol. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but I've
never seen a stoned person go and get in a fight and smash something up or drink or things like that. So when you look at it that way, I mean, it's a little bit different if you drink and then smoke. That causes some issues, but if you're just straight out, enjoying yourself, having a joint. Yeah, I've never seen too many people get into a slap down fight when they've been stoned. Compared to people who have drank a lot of alcohol, put it that way. So
yeah, exactly. That is true. That is true. That is true.
And I still think it probably comes down to the fact that that most people can grow marijuana, I guess, if they want to, and the government can't tax that. But people can't make alcohol readily, and the government can tax that. So that's I still think a lot of it probably came down to that they can't tax it. Things like that is probably the issue. But I mean, it's obviously getting more and more lapse. I get not lapse. I mean, the laws are loosening in a lot of countries now.
Oh yes, yeah.
Do it like I remember the first time I went to Amsterdam in like 2003, and seeing people smoking marijuana, at a cafe, just not walk around the street, but the cafe was glassed off, but they were just sitting outside, enjoying a joint, and the cops were walking past, no hassle at all, things like that. And I'm sure a lot of Amsterdam's tourism relied on that, for a long time. People coming to smoke marijuana and hit the red light district like we spoke about last week, So I don't know whether you could say that Thailand is the Netherlands of Asia at present or
maybe.
not. But
the thing is, I mean, from a political side, you can always say no drugs, no tolerance, all of that. But really, there's a balance to when does it make a difference to crack hard down on the crime surrounding. If you criminalize like marijuana, I mean, there's a lot for the police to do, and if instead you could make the police focus on tougher crimes,
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
I think from a very low pragmatic point of view, I guess that's what the Dutch police did many years ago. Said, let's focus on things that are much more serious than a couple of youngsters smoking a joint. I mean, I don't want to minimalize anything about it, but it's just put things in perspective. Take the helicopter view and say, come on, what's because that's what the Danish authorities did as well. They said, they had in Copenhagen Christiania. It was a part of Copenhagen where it was not allowed officially, but it was the police looked the other way. At least it's here, located here instead of spread all over the city. So it was easier for the police to manage, and I think. Even the Bavarian police here in Germany, they're saying, come on, we have more dire and pressing, than constantly running after marijuana dealers. It's just exactly. And actually, you will get if you walk through the city center nowadays, you will get a whiff of.
Occasionally, happens in Melbourne too. But deal with the hard drugs that cause. Once again, I'm not saying marijuana doesn't cause any problems for people, but it causes far less problems than the white powdery stuff that's out there, and for a
that's
country
what I'm
like
saying.
Thailand,
that's what
borders,
I'm saying.
Myanmar and Laos, which is the Golden Triangle, where most of the heroin and stuff like that comes from. They could far better spend their time, hopefully, chasing down organised crime in that area that are supplying shipments all around the world than some people smoking pot. In retrospect, I think
exactly.
Anyway.
And it's funny to see. We even have a couple of friends that they have new and interesting plants on their balcony. Let's put it like that, because you're allowed to grow this stuff yourself now.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Be a short growing season in Munich, I assume, like once the summer comes out. Get it
but you're allowed to grow it for self-consumption. So,
Oh, that's good. I don't think you are. I'm pretty sure you're still not allowed to in Victoria here. They were going to decriminalise. I don't know whether they did decriminalise it or not. Hang on, let me Google that. Can I grow marijuana, M-A-R-I-G, marijuana in Victoria for personal use? What's it going to tell me? What's it say? Cultivation of cannabis without a license is still a serious criminal offence in Victoria. So,
okay, well, there you go.
As the circumstances of every alleged offence are different, it is important to seek legal advice as soon as possible.
You are now red marked.
Yeah, that's it. Can't have too much fun in this state, so we don't want to. We certainly don't want to do that. But
you're now.
So I think
you're now flagged at Google.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Google will be going, okay, look at these two druggos talking. No.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah.
But yeah, but no, it's not obviously not legal here. I thought maybe in New South Wales or Queensland it's legal, but I don't know. It always has
Yeah.
been in South Australia, I think, but yeah.
Yeah.
But so I guess one day they'll get around to it. It's like all laws, you know. In Western countries, we have to send it past, 50,000 committees in Parliament first, and then debate it for 25 years, and and
Yeah.
then ask 50,000 doctors and 20,000 lawyers, what they think, and then you might finally get a bill into Parliament, possibly.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny to see how politics work in throughout the world. At the moment, here in Europe, we are seriously upgrading our defenses. The NATO. Australia is part of NATO as well, aren't you?
No.
No, you're not. Okay, so it's only.
No.
I thought you were. Anyways, we're gearing up for hopefully not war, but preventing war. Had you asked any politician here, like before Putin invaded Ukraine, they would have been vague. They would have, tried to avoid any discussion about spending more money on arms and the armed forces. But now, I mean, it can't go fast enough. They can't buy the weapons fast enough. So a political change can happen very fast. So if things were a matter of life and death for the career of a politician, they will change, they will, with a flip of a coin, they will change their directions. That's what usually happens.
It does. I think we're heavily embedded, I guess you would say, with Donald and his crew, Australia, and I think they tried to tell us this week that we should be spending $40 billion a year extra on defence, was their words to us earlier this week. But Australia walks a rather precarious fine line because China is our biggest trading partner by a long way. But yet America is our defence partner. So so it's a little bit... Yeah, it's a little bit terse and a bit uneasy at times trying to satisfy both partners, because if we do too much to China, like our former Prime Minister accused them of starting COVID, and that brought in a whole raft of tariffs from China, and
that didn't go down well.
A lot of stuff from Australia basically stopped. Stopped being imported. We couldn't sell them wine and beef and seafood and all this other stuff because we had we had insulted them basically, but so it's a little bit unique, I guess, the situation that we're in, because if we stop selling to China, Australia's economy would slowly grind to a halt. I would believe, because we sell a lot of iron ore to China for them to build. So when things are good in China, the Australian economy is really good because they take shiploads and shiploads of iron ore out of Australia to build things and such. But at the same time, we have military installations that the US own. Like there's a famous one in the Northern Territory called Pine Gap, which is, I think, America's most advanced spy station anywhere in the world, because they can't get a radar on this side of the world. So it comes out of Australia for a lot of their listening to what happens in Asia and on this part of the world. So
interesting.
And you can't get anywhere near this base. Like it's hidden in a valley outside of Alice Springs somewhere, and it's manned by US officials. So US Army look after it, everything like that. So
it's basically US law on Australian soil.
Basically, it is. There's this group of comedians that actually nearly broke into there. It was quite a funny. If I'll find it on YouTube and send you the link, you can have a look. They actually got up to the gate, and the Americans turned them away, and then they went to the airport, and the Australian Federal Police were actually waiting for these guys at the airport because they tried to they tried to falsely get into this military installation that America had run. So yeah, and
They do.
this built a big airfield up near Darwin in the last 2 years, and built like these. I was reading this come from another story. They built these massive big storage containers to store petrochemicals for planes and stuff in case there's a war and they have to land, in Australia. And so yeah, so there's a fair bit of American military build-up happening in the northern parts of Australia, but obviously because it's closest to China. If anything happens in that sort of sphere, and America needs to use Australia. I mean, I don't think Australia would be happy. As an Australian, I wouldn't be overly happy if America were using Australia as a base to, bomb or invade another country.
No.
I've said a lot of times, I think the rhetoric towards China's pretty wrong. I mean, all China wants to do is be like America. They want to have their own things, and they want to be able to protect themselves, and they want to be a prosperous country, which is no different than what America wants to be, or every other country that we're in. So America just can't stand anyone being possibly more advanced than what they are, and I think that's what the whole
right.
That's what the whole issue is with it. Like,
And that's true. I mean, we've sort of gotten used to, at least here in Europe, in Western Europe, we've sort of gotten used to the narrative of America. That's sort of the good guys, the right, the guys in the right, and in the moral high ground. But actually, you can. I'm not supporting Russia or China or anything. It's just there are other ways to see the world than just our point of view and the point of view that we grew up with. So. I absolutely agree with you, Mark. It's. I
mean, there's a lot to be said, or not to be said. There's a lot to be argued that, whether democracy and capitalism, are the best societies to live under. I mean, you just got to look at, some of the messes that we're in because of capitalism and big business and democracy and things like that. Like I said, I've got no way of knowing. I've never lived under a communist society or anything like that. But I remember speaking to, I was staying in Latvia. I was staying in an apartment, and I was talking to the bloke who was at the counter, and he wasn't that old, but I was talking to him about communism because obviously it used to be a Russian country. And he said his parents reckoned that it was far better to live under communism than it was to live under democracy because they had a house, they had a car, they had a job, everything was supplied for them. There may not have been the best stuff ever, but you all had a place in society that was all working for the society, whereas under democracy, that's definitely, or capitalism, that's generally not what's happening. We're all working for ourselves, and not working for the collective good, I guess, of everyone. So yeah, so it's an interesting topic to discuss. But like I said, I've never lived under communism, so I wouldn't really know. But when I go to China, they live under communism. They all look happy and they've got everything as well. So it's
it's
one way, half a dozen the other.
If you look at it, democracy from a practical point of view, it's a pain in the ass, isn't it? Democracy, because everybody has to be heard, and but we all on the one side we enjoy the all the privileges of democracy, but it's still getting things done. It's just
done. It's so hard.
Yeah, it is,
isn't it? It's so hard. The government can't just say, "Hey, we're going to build a train line there, and do it." And, but because there's two frogs living there that are, endangered, we have to build that train line like that and like that and like that to go around two frogs, and call in a dozen environmentalists, have a subcommittee,
Have you? So you haven't been traveling through dictatorships, countries and stuff, have you?
Nah, only China really is probably. Vietnam's a communist country too, and that's another country you would. I don't know. I don't know what communism was like back in the 80s when it was at its heyday, or before that in Russia, but when a lot of people were poor. But it doesn't strike me anymore that communist countries are poor. Like communism's made out to be. China's highly prosperous. Vietnam's the second biggest economy in Asia, I think. So, and it's communism. There's not a lot of communist countries left, I don't think, anyway, there? Russia, China, Vietnam, Cuba. But other than that, I mean, there's a few dictatorships that are not necessarily communism. They're just
They just
totalitarian or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a few of them
That's
left in Africa and South America, but other than that, not so
yeah.
much.
I traveled as a student through the East Bloc in Europe, Eastern Europe back then
Yeah.
when it was Czechoslovakia still, and I went to Prague just weeks before the wall fell down, the Berlin Wall. So that was in '89, I think.
Yep.
And that was a completely different time. It was fairly poor, and you could certainly tell that they were not smiling a whole lot.
No.
But now it's I don't see anything like that. I wouldn't know of anything like that. Even there was a YouTuber who went to Cuba some years ago, I think 5 years ago, and he said, they seemed happy. They seemed, people. One thing he noticed was that everybody wasn't just staring into their smartphones all the time, and he actually found that as a positive thing. So people are not looking into their phones all the time because they don't have any. They didn't have any smartphones. So there was much more interaction, and people were talking, chatting to each other, even in trains. I mean, it was, yeah.
I think in reality, like, smartphones been one of the best things invented, but also one of the worst things invented. Especially for younger generation, like our kids' ages, who basically live their life through their phones. The art of conversation's dying. Things like that. People don't talk to each other; they send messages or things like that. Like I even know, this is an example. Like when I was a teenager, I'd go out with friends and we'd go to parties all the time, that sort of thing. I don't know in Munich, but for young people, for kids my age that are teenagers, doesn't seem to so much happen here anymore, things like that, because everyone can get all their entertainment and their interaction sitting in their bed holding their phone, without having to go anywhere or meet up with anyone, whereas... I'd get home from school and I'd chuck my bag in the door and I'd get on my bike and, and I'd go and meet my friends somewhere and... we might go ride our BMXs or do something naughty like smoke some cigarettes down the park or something like that, which is not good either. But, you'd still have that interaction with your friends, and you might have the phone in the house, but my dad was always saying, get off the phone, after 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, and, because back then any minute would cost you dearly, wouldn't it? To be on the phone,
That's it. Or you used to have to wait till after 7 o'clock when you could talk for as long as you wanted for the cost of a local call or something like that. I think, so it's all very much changed, isn't it? I guess the way teens communicate compared to what they do. So
true that.
Bit of a challenge for this generation, I think.
So next week, or actually the next 2 weeks, I won't be able to do the podcast, but I will. I will try to do some short video content. I don't know if you saw I made a video about listening to vinyl, which I uploaded to the Facebook website. I don't know if anybody has seen it, but
did you? I didn't even see it. I'll have to have a look.
Yeah. So for the listeners, I mean, it was just to give you a bit of an insight to what else we do in our lives apart from just talking and traveling, and there are other sides to life. And Mark has been doing a fantastic job about creating content for our channels. So that was just my small contribution. I will do more. I will do a bit from Tuscany, and eating a gelato or going out for a pizza, stuff like that. So
Can you send me a copy of that? Send me a copy of that video, and I'll actually put it on YouTube as well as Facebook.
I will.
Transfer me the file. I started making one for our channel the other day about weather in Australia, and I was how people think it's warm, but it's not necessarily. And I've actually just been waiting for a morning where there's a frost, so I can get some footage of that
you can actually prove
the car to make it look a little bit better. So
it can look like a proper Russian winter.
Even cold with my video camera, and I'm like,
Yeah.
trying to breathe and catch a bit of footage of the mist coming out of my mouth and things like that. So so I'm about to get one, about to publish one. I'm just waiting for a really cold morning so I can get some more footage of that.
That will be good. That will be good. Well, Mark, it's been another hour, and once again, thanks a lot for listening. If you are listening, anybody out there, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and tell your friends about it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And
anyone send some questions. Ask Andy some questions about Italy Tuscany. That he's going to.
Italy,
so, I hope you and your family have a really good holiday too, mate. I hope you
Thank
enjoy
you very much, and talk soon, Mark. We'll be in touch.
Yes, we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
We will. Bye.
There's.